name is Tymisha Harris, and my nickname is Tush, so most people call me Tush, please, please, please. And I am the star, the actor, the choreographer, the costume designer of Josephine. Oh, I've Dynamite Lunchbox as well, but Dynamite Lunchbox is a company. Josephine is the show.
And I'm Mike Marinaccio. I'm the producer and artistic director of Dynamite Lunchbox. I write and stage manage and acted before and have some shows, but mostly I'm a behind the scenes guy. And then when it comes to the show that we've been traveling with most, Josephine, it's the two of us. She's on stage and I'm doing everything off stage.
Can you tell us a little bit about how and why Dynamite Lunchbox Productions was founded?
I can take that one. So Dynamite Lunchbox, the idea of Dynamite Lunchbox was to create a company that would create shows that were small scale enough in terms of our cast and footprint, what we're packing, and how we're able to travel it, to travel everywhere in the world, and then to get an eclectic group of shows together to do that. So we have sort of an umbrella organization that helps to facilitate touring, particularly Fringe touring, but touring outside of that as well, all across the world. So I really just wanted to elevate artists that were here locally in Orlando to the international scene. So that's where the Dynamite Lunchbox came in. It's a lunchbox packed with all different eclectic things, and it's explosive and exciting entertainment. So
the cool kids at the lunch table with the cool lunchbox, you know.
Your show, Josephine, a Burlesque Cabaret Dream play, tells the story of African-American international superstar Josephine Baker. What inspired you to pay tribute to her with this play?
Inspiration, I think, truly boiled from a couple of things. I was talking with Micheal when we first started hanging out, and I realized that I kind of needed a vehicle to explore different avenues of my talent, my skill set. And he suggested, well, why don't we do a show? Why don't we do make you a show? And I was like, ha, sure. And, we were working on something, maybe a Tina Turner show, but that didn't turn out. Someone suggested Josephine Baker, and it was just perfect. It was, it was a perfect time as well, because during that time, it was about 2015 when we were figuring out what it was. And so the political climate here in America, as everyone knows, was trying to reshape itself and then redo some things. And so the story of Josephine, of being such an international superstar, got lost in our history, in most people's history. And so we really felt like it was an opportunity to get her story out there, to have a Black woman in a lead role, in a one-person show role, and have an original play as well. So we were trying to get as many birds with that stone as we could.
Yeah, once we started researching it, going down the rabbit hole, I mean, it became really clear that Josephine Baker had one of the most interesting lives ever of anyone in the history of mankind, frankly. And then that she was not really well known, particularly in the United States and North America,
where she's from.
Yeah, she's much better known in Europe, but so we really felt like it was we sort of hit the jackpot in. We had this subject that was so exciting, and we had a performer like Tymisha that could dance and sing and act, and so it covered all those bases. And then we had a story that was undertold and really needed to be heard. So it just sort of all came together.
Really, really well. Like.
Evidently. On that note, you've performed Josephine all over the world, from off-Broadway in New York to Fringe festivals in Orlando, San Diego, Winnipeg, and many others. What have you learned from taking your show to so many different places and performing all over the world?
So many different places need to hear this story. so many places need to, have an opportunity to uh, get lost in someone else's story and still have it reflect on what they can do every day to help us be in a better place.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we learned traveling with this show in particular was that that these stories, historical stories, there is the audience is incredibly, everyone that comes to see it enjoys it, whether they're young or old or black or white or
audience is
whatever it is.
It's great.
And everyone who's come see it, it really means something to them, and maybe in a different way. The older folks, they get to hear these songs that maybe they grew up with, and some stories that they grew up with, and the younger folks are exposed to this whole new world of it. But whoever it is, it really is a show that has a really broad universal appeal, I think, unless you're just,
It's my Josephine shirt right here. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not intentional.
We were worried about people walking out. There's nudity. There's some really, political subject matter. There's some things in there, and so far we never really had with very few, in the tens of thousands of people that have seen the show.
That's spectacular.
Yeah.
What are the benefits and struggles of touring the Fringe circuit for you guys?
I mean, I could talk a lot about that. I used to be the producer of the Orlando Fringe Festival. So I spent a lot of time going out and seeing other festivals and checking those out. And scouting them for acts, learning, different things about those festivals that I could bring home to ours. So by the time we were ready to tour a show and get out there, I had a good, I had a good vast knowledge of these festivals and what we might be stepping into as we walked into them. I think, what the struggles of doing the Fringe circuit is always going to be money, is a challenge, particularly with a lot of festivals where you have a low ticket price. So even if they're giving 100% back to the artists, when you're talking $10, $12 a ticket, and we've got to get a venue of at least 100 seats and at least 5 or 6 performances in order for us to make it a viable thing for us to be able to fly to these places. The billeting is great that a lot of these festivals do. That saves us a lot of money on housing and things, but it's still expensive when you're talking about festival fees and marketing and travel and just living in a place.
A couple weeks, yeah.
But I think what we really learned is that the Fringe circuit is a viable place to go and make a living. So during those summers when we're able to tour, we're actually able to make a living. It's not easy. It's a lot of work going between festivals and quick turnarounds, but it's definitely an opportunity for folks. If you do it the right way, you can make a living at this.
There's a little Fringe family that we call a framily of touring artists and different people that have done and kind of, I would say, master this skill of touring. There's some really awesome folks that are in the circuit that offer a good neighborhood, good community, community. That's the word I need.
Yeah, having those folks around, having that support system of other artists and the camaraderie that the artists feel has helped us so much in being able to do what we do. So
you both worn a lot of hats in the production of Josephine. You both do a lot of different things. Did you face any challenges from having all of those different facets at your hands? Were there any difficulties that arose for you guys specifically?
I mean,
I think honestly, like for me, I feel like it's harder now. We have a new show called Josie and Grace, and it's a show about Josephine Baker and Grace Kelly, and we have a bigger team that we have to bring along with us, and more stuff and more of those things, and so I'm wearing less hats, but it's still seems a little bit harder because you're coordinating all the other people. Like when it's just the two of us out there with Josephine, we have it down to such a system that it just makes sense.
We used to travel with we can travel with one other person. So we went one summer where we went across the entire North America, and we had 3 people in a car.
Oh yeah,
we did a fantastic tour. 2018.
Canada, we went
Ottawa.
Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto, Winnipeg, Saskatoon, Edmonton. I mean, we just went all the way
down to Vegas,
circuit.
then back to Florida, stop Texas, all this. So it was, and that was about 3 of us in the car. So we got it down. We got Josephine down pat. We're working on Josie and Grace, like you said.
Yeah, and I feel like the hats that we wear, I mean, Tymisha choreographing and costume designing, these are things that she does normally as well as being an amazing performer and doing that. And for me, like as a producer, I know a little bit of everybody's job. So I know how to do all the jobs. So I can do everything in there. I can lighting designer, sound designer, all these things. But I'm not really great at any of you know what I mean? It's like, so getting skilled people around to help us out with things on the development side was really key. You know, having our partner Todd Kimbrough, who's an amazing playwright and music director and composer, you know, filling those gaps in is really, really important.
I think the very first show was the most difficult show. For the most part, the very first one we did, because it was the dress rehearsal and actual show, and I was not ready.
Yeah, Josephine, this is back in 2016. We did San Diego Fringe.
San Diego.
I mean, we were at
Spreckles Theater, beautiful theater, fantastic. Like, wow, what an opportunity. Theater that was built in 1912, just epic. Risers had to be put on the stage. 125 seat riser sections were put on stage, and then still had the rest of the theater to look out to. So it was just like, wow. And we had 14 people.
Yeah. And it was 2 weeks after Orlando Fringe, where Tymisha was in like 5 shows and I was producing the fest. So we had 2 weeks to rehearse. And then 3 days after the Fringe Festival, or very short,
3 days before we were supposed to leave.
Before we left, okay, was the Pulse tragedy happened here in Orlando. So that totally set us back. So when we got to San Diego, we were running lines on the plane there and all the way up until we started. We had none of our sound cues recorded, so I was doing them all on a microphone in the back of the theater, which was actually a seat in the back of the house where I'm sitting sideways on a computer pressing cues and doing that. But when we started to fill up, people were sitting next to me. You know, it's like you're right next to me and I'm sitting here doing the talking. Don't mind me. Don't mind the guy behind no curtain. Here.
Yeah, I had to figure out my costume changes on stage.
Oh my God. The first time he changed to the banana, actually pretty much that whole run, trying to change it to the banana skirt and make it work. We had to go back and rewrite.
I might have cried once.
Section there.
I broke down and crying like, I don't know what I'm doing. It was grand. It was epic. But then as we got to the 7th show, we found the rhythm. We found what it is. Because we took it as a workshop, so we just needed to know what we had. We took it to people that had no idea who either of us were, what our work was, and it was grand. We oversold the entire, how much we oversold it?
Yeah, we ended up selling 350 tickets to a venue that was supposed to be 125 seats because they opened up the middle balcony because the demand was so great. And that was when we took it to San Diego because we wanted nobody to know us. We wanted to know exactly what we had without other people's preconceived notions about her or me or our work. And so with all of the strife and everything, putting it up, to see the reaction of the folks, we knew at that moment that we had a hit on our hands, that we've got a show that has got some legs to go somewhere.
Yeah. And it just fell into place, and the cities fell into place naturally. Next to a lot of work. Mike's brilliant at it. You know, those years that he did work the Fringe Festival as a producer, gained so much knowledge, gained so much friendships, and the relationships that he gained and works, and he's great at it. So.
Thanks.
So Josephine has won a lot of awards, has received tons of positive feedback, but is there one response that sticks out to you that you've gotten from a critic, from the audience, whatever that means to you, one response that was really, really special?
I know which one it is for me, but what's for you?
Actually, RuPaul just popped in my head.
There you go. There.
Your face is great. We had just...
It was our first ever show off Broadway, New York City. Our first performance, our opening performance.
Yeah.
I guess I should start this one because the first half she didn't know. So I see RuPaul walk in with his partner, and I'm like, oh my God, is that RuPaul?
Because he wasn't in drag.
No, just but very tall and handsome, and they sit down, and I turn to my tech and I'm like, Ben, do you think we should tell Tymisha? And he's like, no way, don't tell Tymisha that. No. I was like, you're right. And then RuPaul gets up and walks back over to the usher, and I guess the seats were too close together and his legs were too long.
They're pretty narrow.
So the usher took him and sat them up front row. Front row.
Front.
And so at that point, I'm like, I have to tell Tymisha. I have to tell her that this is happening. So I run downstairs. I go to the dressing room. I'm like, honey, so I just wanted to let you know that, and she's getting ready, stressed out. I'm like, RuPaul is in the audience tonight. And
shut the hell up. No, he's not. No.
It was not that nice, actually, her reaction. She turned to me and she was like, you shut the hell up. No, don't mess with me. I'm about to open. And
because I don't like to know who's in the house.
I was like, okay. I just thought I'd tell you because right front. Okay, have a great show. And I go upstairs. She comes out on stage.
Opening starts off great, spotlight pin. I start opening mouth, and the first person I look eyes with, is RuPaul Charles, with this his smile and his energy. It was just like, he was telling the truth. Like, it's actually me. He's here, and gave me all of the energy, all of the love. Came up afterwards, show was done, and said, you were wonderful, it's fantastic. I could see this being directed by Baz Luhrmann on the screen, and directed by Baz Luhrmann. And
I can see you in a movie version.
I can see, okay.
Baz
I paraphrased. But then, so in the show, there's a moment where I come around the screen and I'm talking about, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. And I looked up again and I locked eyes with RuPaul and I said, awesome. Now, Josephine probably wouldn't have said awesome anytime
in the 1930s.
In the 1930s. Or I said awesome, right? I said super. I think I said awesome. Yeah. And some critic in the audience on picked that line out and was like, oh, the plays too contemporary, and all these things, and gave me like
that's not in the script,
score of 35. And I was like, yo, well, I will take that low score because RuPaul was in the front row of the show and liked it more than you did. I'm good.
Sir, Mr. Critic, you try looking RuPaul in the face and not saying awesome.
And not say awesome, like surprise, awesome. Because it was still pretty early in the show, I guess, a little bit. And I just, no way. Wow. Who told you? Oh, wow. So yeah, that had a great arc, a great flow. Yeah.
I would say my favorite moment, and this is a quick one, is our opening in Winnipeg in 2017. We hadn't really done much. We'd done San Diego and Indianapolis, I think. Actually, I think Indy came after. So we'd only done one festival. We'd done some workshop productions. We went to Winnipeg, just nobody really knowing us, knowing her, anything. We had a noon on Thursday opening. Noon on Thursday. And we're like, there's no way anybody's going to show up for this thing. And we got there, and there was a line around the building, and we were sold out for our opening show on Thursday at noon. And then the rest of the day, people kept coming up to me and saying, hey, I talked to some folks who saw your show this morning, and so the buzz just went out. We ended up selling out the entire run. By the second weekend, they hold like certain amount of tickets for 1 hour before. By the second weekend, people were waiting 5 hours. They were showing up at 9 a.m. in the morning to wait to get these tickets. And we were just like it was that response was the most overwhelmingly exciting thing that I think for us. Every other city, no matter what, nothing has ever lived up to that, because it was that first time out.
Thursday at noon is not a normal time on the Fringe, on anywhere. Where do you go Thursday at noon unless it's a school trip or something, and the place was sold out, and then they told people about it. I mean, thank you.
Yeah. I mean, after that, it was like the expectations were coming along with us. Whenever we went to a new city, they had heard about it from here or whatever else, and there's all these expectations. But in that moment, there were like no expectations, nobody really knew and what we had, and they came out anyway, and that was really beautiful. Yeah.
Wow. Well, pardon me while I collect my jaw from the floor because of that answer. So
I like that question.
Theater is such a big part of your lives. But when did you decide that this was what you wanted to do for the rest of your life? What is your first memory of being involved in the arts?
You want to go first?
Oh. I've always been involved in the arts. I started off dancing as a little kid, in dance school, ballet, tap, jazz, and then went to singing, and then moved out here, started choreography and all the things. And I think my first maybe paid gig might have been this thing called Showtime USA, which was kind of a USO style tour for different military bases, right? And I stood in the back, and I think it was like a lion, or I held a banner, and I go, oh yeah, okay, this is pretty cool. I remember that. It was my best friend, and she was in it, and I found this dance teacher out of it, and it was just epic, and I loved it. And so I have always dabbled in it, always.
I didn't really start until college. I did DJ for my high school radio station and make stupid movies with my friends when I was a teenager. But it wasn't until I got to college and I took an acting class because I needed a humanities credit. And I was like, that'll be easy. All you got to do is make believe. And I went in there, and next thing you know, I'm like volunteering for every scene, and people are, and then I, started doing plays and never looked back. But I always tell students whenever I'm teaching classes or doing public speaking or just giving advice to young people who are prospective theater artists or interested in entertainment, I would say, if you can see yourself doing something else for the rest of your life, do that. Because the people who do this, we don't really have a choice. It's in our blood. Once it gets in us, there's nothing else. I mean, this is what we're going to do. And so that kind of need and dedication that you find in theater and entertainment professionals, that's something that you can't replicate. And if you don't feel it, you don't have it, you just not, do something else, because this is not an easy life. It's not glamorous as it seems. It's a lot of work.
So you have both been a part of so many different shows, and you both wear, like we've said, many different hats in the creative process. But do you have a favorite part of the process from concept to stage?
It always varies for the show for me. I've done so many different things. Sometimes I didn't like being on stage for different shows. So it's unique since it's all in my blood, like you said. Each show is very unique, a unique experience. Take it away, learn from it. Didn't do that right. Never going to do that again. So yeah, I don't know. I love the creation. I love being a student of entertainment and moving. And so every time I go into something, I'm going into it, I need to learn something new and take that with me to move on. So if I'm not learning anything,
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think each different aspect of production and creating new work is exciting in its own way, and each different job that I do has its own rewards. But for me, the most exciting thing are the breakthroughs. It's that moment in rehearsal where that light bulb goes off for that actor, and they're like, "Oh my God, yes, this is what it is." Or like we just finished some revisions for Josie and Grace, and I had this big light bulb moment and I was like, it just sort of all came into focus, and we created this new section of the play that's got this medley and narrative that fills the gaps and completes it's that missing piece. Finding that missing piece is what's thrilling to me. Yeah.
All right. Well, that is going to be it for the interview today, you guys. So thanks again to Dynamite Lunchbox. Can you guys let the people who might be watching know where they can find you, social media, that kind of thing?
Sure. We're still at Josephine the Play, right? Everywhere.
Josephine the Play everywhere. If you see Dynamite Lunchbox, that'll be coming along with it. But josephinetheplay.com is our website at the moment. We're on Twitter. We are on Instagram. We are on Facebook. Facebook, I believe it's Josephine, a Burlesque Cabaret Dream play, which was the original title. So we got everything in there. But yeah, just look up Josephine the Play and you can find one, two, or all of us.
Yeah, and shortly will be our new website, DynamiteLunchbox.com will be coming out, and that's because now we have more than just the one show that we're doing and hitting the road with. We've got 3 shows at the moment and working on 2 more. So, yeah, keep on the lookout.
Hope to meet you.
I personally am living in Toronto this upcoming year, so if you guys are ever fringing it up, I will absolutely be in attendance.
The plan is next summer.
Next summer.
Yeah, the plan is next summer to get up there. Thank you all for the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you.